What if the moment that stunned the world never existed in reality, yet felt so vivid it rewrote an entire timeline in our imagination? And what if a single red carpet walk, entirely fictional, became the boldest scene in a story fans were never ready to let go of? This is a fictional cinematic narrative, a dramatized story told in the language of emotion, not reality. In this imagined world, the red carpet does not begin with flashing lights or shouted questions. It begins with silence. A hush ripples through the crowd as cameras lift almost instinctively, sensing something different before they understand it. The air feels heavier, charged with anticipation that has no obvious source. Then they appear. Dylan Wang steps into the light first, composed, steady, carrying the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly where he stands. At his side, Shen Yue walks with unmistakable grace. Not hurried, not hiding, just present. And that is when the world in this story stops breathing. Because Dylan does not step ahead of her. He does not shield her from the cameras. He does something far more deliberate. He turns toward her. Gently, proudly. His hand settles over her midsection in a gesture so natural, so unforced, it feels less like a statement and more like instinct. In this fictional moment, the gesture is not rushed, not exaggerated. It is calm, certain, protective. The cameras explode into chaos. Fans gasp. Reporters freeze mid-question. Social media ignites within seconds, struggling to process what their eyes think they see. A baby bump. Unhidden. Unapologetic. Centered beneath the glow of flashing lights. This story isn't over. Subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. We follow the moments and emotions of your favorite TV stars. Stay with us. In this imagined reality, no announcement is made. No words are spoken. Dylan Wang does not smile for effect. He does not play to the moment. His expression carries something else entirely. Assurance. As if to say, without speaking, this is my life. This is my choice. This is my pride. Shen Yue does not shrink under the attention. She does not perform surprise or modesty. She rests her hand over his, grounding the moment in quiet unity. Her expression is serene, unshaken, as though the world's shock is distant noise. In this cinematic scene, the red carpet becomes something else entirely. Not a stage. Not a spectacle. A declaration. Fans watching from around the world feel the ground shift beneath years of speculation. Old interviews replay in their minds. Moments once dismissed as coincidence suddenly glow with imagined meaning. In this fictional universe, every pause, every glance, every silence now feels like foreshadowing. But what truly shakes people is not the pregnancy itself. It is the pride. Dylan Wang does not look cornered. He does not look exposed. He looks resolved. In a world that often demands secrecy, this fictional version of him chooses openness. In an industry built on control, he chooses honesty. Not through words, but through presence. The red carpet rolls on, but nothing else matters anymore. Questions are shouted, but unanswered. Headlines are drafted before the night ends. Fans argue, celebrate, cry, and disbelieve all at once. Yet in this imagined story, Dylan and Shen Yue walk on calmly, untouched by the storm behind them. Because in this version of events, they are not revealing something new. They're simply no longer hiding. And that is what makes this fictional moment so powerful. Not scandal, not shock, but certainty. The idea that two people who once defined an era chose, in this imagined future, to define their own narrative. That they carried something precious into the harshest light and refused to protect it with denial. As the cameras fade and the night moves on, the image lingers in the collective imagination. Not as gossip, but as symbolism. A story about choosing love over fear. About standing still while the world spins. About protecting what matters without asking permission. And as the credits roll on this fictional scene, one final question remains suspended in the air. What if the reason this story feels so real is not because it could happen, but because so many people once hoped it would? In the end, this is not a headline. It is a cinematic dream, one that reminds us how deeply stories can live inside us, long after the screen goes dark. And yet, in this fictional universe, the shock does not end at the edge of the red carpet. It deepens, because what happens next is not louder. It is quieter, and far more unsettling. As Dylan Wang and Shen Yue disappear beyond the velvet ropes, the noise behind them swells into something uncontrollable. Reporters scramble. Producers whisper urgently into headsets. Phones vibrate endlessly in trembling hands. The world demands clarification, but none arrives. In this imagined story, the absence of explanation becomes the loudest answer of all. Inside the venue, the atmosphere shifts. Conversations stall mid-sentence. Eyes follow them, not with judgment, but disbelief. Because what was just witnessed did not feel staged. It did not feel calculated. It felt lived in. And that is what unsettles everyone. Back in this cinematic reality, fans around the globe replay the footage obsessively, slowing it down, watching the way Dylan's hand never hesitated, the way Shen Yue's posture carried calm rather than concealment, the way neither of them sought approval from the crowd. There is no panic in their body language, no apology in their eyes, only certainty. In this story, insiders begin to whisper not about timelines or confirmations, but about intention, about how long something like this would need to be protected before it could be revealed without fear, about how carefully two people would have to live to arrive at a moment where they no longer needed to explain themselves. Speculation turns inward. Maybe this was not sudden. Maybe it was simply unseen. Fans remember how the loudest love stories often collapse under scrutiny, while the quietest ones survive unnoticed. In this fictional narrative, Dylan and Shen Yue did not rush the world. They waited until the world no longer mattered. And that changes everything. Because the most shocking part of this imagined reveal is not the baby bump. It is the timing. Not at a press conference. Not through social media. Not wrapped in marketing or narrative control. But on a red carpet, of all places, where illusion usually reigns supreme. In this version of events, they reclaimed the stage not for performance, but for truth. And as the night unfolds, a realization spreads slowly, almost painfully. This was never meant to shock. It was meant to normalize. To say, in the simplest way possible, that life does not pause for public comfort. That love does not require permission. That growth does not wait for consensus. In the final scenes of this fictional chapter, the couple is seen later that night. No cameras allowed, no spectacle remaining. Just two people sitting side by side, exhaustion settling in, hands still intertwined. No words needed, because the moment already spoke for itself. And as fans finally begin to quiet, as arguments soften into reflection, one final understanding settles over this imagined world. That what truly shook people was not the idea of a child. It was the idea of stability, of permanence, of something real surviving beneath years of projection. And perhaps that is why this fictional story lingers so powerfully, not because it claims to be true, but because it reveals what people long to see. A story where love grows quietly, where privacy is respected until strength replaces fear, where two people walk forward together without looking back. As the screen fades and the imagined red carpet is rolled away, the final thought remains, echoing softly, like a closing line in a film. Sometimes the greatest shock is not revelation. It is realization. The realization that the story you thought you were watching ended long ago, was only just beginning. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe so you don't miss out next episode.